Heidi-ho everyone, my name's Markiplier. Wait, that's not the right intro. Howdy, okay. Wow, here we are, post Jade Shadows, and Blast is pretty insane. Lots of people using Blast, it's kind of juicy. And I want to use it on Furis and Karnan. I know I did a Furis and Karnan video not long ago, but I didn't expect the changes to affect it specifically. I thought maybe Blast would be good on other weapons. Closer to the release of Jade Shadows, I was starting to think, maybe it would be, but then I was like, maybe Blast is capped out, but then no, it's not, it detonates, and so here we are. Furis, Blast, Electric, all that sort of stuff. So that's why we're doing another Furis video right now. So Furis, you can obviously run Blast on it, and I'm not going to go too in-depth, because I think most people know how Furis and Karnan works, or if they want to know exactly how it works, then check out my last video, because that goes over like viral heats and what it did before. This is just like what it does now, right? So one of the first things that I like if you go Blast is you can run Blast with Electric, which means you can comfortably use the Stormburst evolution on the Incarnate tree, because normally you are able to proc Electric a lot of the time, right? So you're typically just going to go for Haven Foray, which is okay, but you don't usually have overshields for the extra base damage, and because of the much higher base damage on the Incarnate form, it's also not going to increase your damage by that much. Whereas Stormburst is multi-shot, and multi-shot is insanely good, especially on beam weapons, because of how it works. But you have to apply electricity status effects. It does not have to be from the weapon, so there are some like weird niche ways you can use it, like if you're using Wisp in her electric modes, but most of the time you're not going to be able to proc it if you're using a build that isn't dog shit, or at least that was before Jade Shadows. Whereas now you can run Blast Electric, which is really good, and then you can run this, giving you an extra 120% multi-shot for even more damage. So let us see. This is the build that I was running in the last video I did, I think, though I can't remember if I don't think I had the Riven on. Now, the upside to a build like this is that I don't need any kills for anything. Like, literally none of this is kill dependent, so I can just use this and I will have full damage at all times on the weapon. And that's why I still really like this, and I'm still going to use this if I ever use Furis for level cap content, because especially in Void Cascade, having to get kills to keep my stacks up can be a pain in the ass. But I know most people don't usually care about that. But that is the reason I like this build still so much. But if you don't mind getting kills and stuff, and you want like lots of explosions, you can go for this. So we can actually replace this Riven, is not necessary here, so we will do that. The Rivens aren't usually too expensive for Furis, or at least not that I've seen, and they obviously you don't have a Riven Dispo of 5, which is amazing. But we can replace it with something like Scorch instead. So we've got Amalgam Burl Diffusion, which if you want maximum damage, I would go Galvanized Diffusion. I just don't have it maxed, and I prefer the dodge speed. I like it, right? I don't need the extra damage anyways. Creeping Bullseye for crit chance. We got Prime Target Cracker crit damage, Fire Rate multi-shot, Galvanized Shot, very important. We have Frostbite Scorch to make Blast, and Primed Convulsion to give us lots of electricity procs. We actually have higher electric weighting than Blast, but that's fine. I would prefer higher Blast weighting if I didn't have to sacrifice in the damage department, but it doesn't really matter. Though if you don't have Prime Convulsion, you can easily just run normal Convulsion or even Jolt. That's also an option. Right, you can just slap that on instead and it'll be perfectly fine. You'll even have higher status chance and much higher blast weighting, but you'll have like lower total damage per hit if you don't count statuses. I don't know how the DPS calcs come out with that, but this is what I'm running right now. We have Secondary Encumber because we're doing a lot of status effects, so we can trigger a bunch of random statuses with this, which means we might get like a Viral proc or a Corrosive proc, which is nice, but more importantly, it means we get a ton of extra damage from Galvanized Shot. For every new unique status that it triggers, if we're at max stacks, that's another 120% damage. That's huge. Now, I would love to have, Punch Through on this, because Punch Through is actually great. This weapon has no Punch Through base, but I would have to give up one of these mods, and I'm not willing to do that. which is why if you were going for Electric Blast, I would like a Riven that could fill the role of one of these mods here, while at the same time having Punch Through on it. That would be extremely nice. Or I suppose, what, crit damage? Yeah. With this Riven I have specifically, I could just replace this, and then the crit damage mod with the Riven and replace Scorch with Seeker, but we're not using a Riven right now. So now we get lots of electric procs for chaining electric, we get lots of blast procs for explosions everywhere, we get extra multi-shot because we can actually proc electricity. It's going to be really, really strong. This is, unless we get lucky on our random encumber procs, we won't be getting any sort of, actually, you know what? Just for the sake of it, no encumber, because I know a lot of people don't have that. You don't even need an arcane to make this work. You're going to see. My internet's being terrible, so it's taking forever to exit the arsenal. Come on, come on. Anytime this year. There we go. Alright, yes. There they are, spawned in. Wait, there's... yeah, Steel Path 175 Corrupted Heavy Gunners. So, these guys... they're gonna get destroyed. We do need to build up our stack for Galvanized Shot first, but you can see even before that, before we even get stacks, our damage is already more than enough to kill these guys without any level of like armor strip. Look at this. This has a fairly good AoE, and because it's an Incarnon, pretty much infinite ammo, and I have no Arcane equipped right now. I'd say that's pretty good. So now we will put the Arcane on. I just wanted to show that you don't need it. In most content, you're just going to shred stuff regardless. But if we add in Encumber, where'd it go? Our damage is just going to go up even higher. So let's simulate them again. Again, going to need to build our stacks. Whee! You can already see it was our damage with Encumber is significantly higher. I mean, it was high before, but now, I mean, look at this. This is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. That's some damage right there. That's some freaking damage. It's very, very fun, and if you have any level of grouping, then it's really gonna decimate enemies. Because grouping with Blast and Electric, because of how they work, just makes you get insane levels of damage. So let's say, I know a lot of people here, before I show grouping, let's show Nourish, because I know a lot of people run Nourish on like every frame. So now we have Viral immediately on the weapon. And look at this. Even faster than before. Completely unnecessary, but again, I know a lot of people run it, so I figured might as well show it. With grouping though, we're going to switch to Rhino. I'm not going to be casting Roar. I just used Rhino because I put Ensnare on him. That way I don't have to deal with the annoyingness of your weird cats, Venari, on Korra. So the only thing affecting our damage is, well, nothing actually. There's nothing affecting our damage here, other than the fact that we'll be grouping them. I'm going to want to build up some kills first at least, so that I have my stacks going. So I'll kill 3 enemies, right? Yeah, 3 enemies. Pull them all in, and then they're all dead. All dead. Pretty insane. Very, very juicy, to say the least. I'm quite fond of this. It's very fun. Like I said, this Viral Heat is still what I'm going to go for if I'm doing level cap stuff, but this works in almost everything else. It's going to kill enemies no problem. And you get the bonus damage to Corpus, Amalgam, and Murmur with Electric. The 1.5 to Murmur, and you know, Murmur enemies are everywhere. That's pretty juicy, I'd say. Now, before I go, right, I want to... just because I didn't show it in the last video, and because of how all the armor changes and stuff worked, I do want to show gas damage on this real quick. So let me think. Let me use my supposed big brain energy to try to figure out how gas is made. There we go. our our base damage isn't very high, which is a problem when you're trying to get gas damage to be really high. But it should be totally fine regardless, especially because we have like the insane multi-shot and Cumber for tons of damage and stuff. Now, why you would run this over Blast, I don't know. I mean, I guess because it does extra damage to infested Deimos? Though I think the Blast said it also did. I don't know. This is just in case you're curious, and gas damage is fairly satisfying to use as well, so you can see still doing more than enough damage to kill all of these enemies, no problem. And I'll just shoot everywhere before I show it with grouping. Not that it's really necessary to show with grouping, because it works pretty much the same as how like Blast and Electric work, or at least why they scale so insanely with grouping. But dang it, I'm just brain farting right now trying to spawn these guys in. There we go. But I figure might as well, just so you can see a comparison. Even though either way it's going to destroy the enemies pretty much instantly. Very juicy, I'd say. Quite strong, not that it wasn't before, but it's even stronger now, and you have more options now with the weapon. You can build it for gas and electric, just gas, blast electric, just blast, viral heat, corrosive heat. Like, you can put pretty much anything that's like some sort of DOT on this weapon, and it will destroy enemies in pretty much any content in the game for the most part. So that's gonna do it for the Furis Incarnon looked at again after Jade Shadows. If you like the videos, and leave a like and subscribe. Also, we have a Discord. The link to the Discord will be in the description of this video if you'd like to join. Adios.